So the news we're looking at today is that Blockchain Cuties, or Blockchain Cuties Universe, as it's now called, is one of the first dapps on TRON to be supported through the Samsung blockchain wallet. So here's just a press release talking about it. So actually, on the 19th of December, it's telling us that TRON dapps were supported for the first time on the Samsung blockchain wallet. So the Samsung blockchain wallet is a wallet, so a way of securing your private keys to a blockchain or various blockchains, and this is embedded in the Samsung S10 devices, family of devices, so smartphones and slightly bigger smartphones. So obviously millions of people have the S10, and potentially now they have the ability to access blockchain dapps through this Samsung blockchain wallet. So that seems like a really big bit of news for the dApp ecosystem. Millions of people now have an easier way of interacting with these dApps. So let's go and have a look at the data and actually see if we can kind of see that this massive onboarding of users. So here we are looking at dApp Radar to look at the data. So dApp Radar is one of the websites where you can track the usage of dApps by looking at how many wallets are interacting with their smart contracts, which is the thing that runs these blockchain games. So it's basically automatic code that when you put something in, spits something out the other end. That's basically how it works. So you can see I've searched for Cuties, and we can see here Blockchain Cuties is there, and actually it runs across 4 different blockchains, and we can get some details across what's going on with them. But obviously the one we're going to look at is Blockchain Cuties running on TRON. So this one here. So we can see that's the one we want to click on. So here we go, Blockchain Cuties running on TRON, and we have a nice little graphic here. That doesn't really show us very much, it's only 30 days. What we could do is, so we could make this a bit clearer by clicking on this. So this is the number of active wallets, and then we can look at all time. So all time, so this is kind of looking interesting. So we see, starts obviously very small, and over time, during 2019, it builds up. So it's kind of running here at about, just 100 and probably 175 on average, pretty steady. And then look. So here we have at the start of December this massive leap. So we go from about 165, and then suddenly we're up to 300, over 300, over 400 there. So it looks like something interesting is happening there. So let's go and investigate further. One obvious way of doing this is because this game runs across different blockchains. We can go and have a look at the Blockchain Cuties running on the Ethereum blockchain. So this is actually the biggest version of Blockchain Cuties. Runs on Ethereum. It has the most wallets interacting with it. So again, the same kind of graph. Not quite so clear what's going on here. I mean, obviously it has a lot more users. This is from March, April 2019. We care about December. So we do kind of see running up to December, we have just over 400. And then start of December, kind of mid-December, we do have this kind of jump. So we're going from about 400 up a little bit. And here we've got some peaks at about 500. So looks like there's something happening there. But it's definitely happening on TRON. There's definitely an uplift. Looks like it's happening a bit on Ethereum as well. Go and have a look at. Let's have a look at Neo. So Neo is the third most popular blockchain that this game runs on. So this looks pretty interesting. So hardly anyone using it, under 10, and then start of December, we kind of have this kind of percentage-wise this massive jump. So we're jumping from about 10 up to about. On a good day up to 90. So it looks like there's definitely something happening here, but it's not very clear. It seems to be happening across all versions of the game running on all different blockchains. So if we were thinking about this just been added to the Samsung blockchain wallet running on TRON, and there's these millions of people on Samsung using Samsung S10 devices, and suddenly they can all play this game on TRON, then we'd expect to see a big increase or we'd hope to see, I should say, a big increase at the start of December when this happens. And we do see a big increase, but we also see it on the Neo version of the game and the Ethereum version of the game, which are not supported by the Samsung S10. So we need to find out a bit more data. We need to find out a bit more what's going on with this. So what I've done to get a bit more granularity into this data is to download the data from dapps, which you can do, download it as a CSV file and put it all into a spreadsheet. So what we can see here on this graph here is basically what we've looked at before. So this is taking all the data for Blockchain Cuties on the different blockchains that it runs on. And we can see here, so we have Ethereum in the blue. So obviously the biggest by quite a long shot. Then we have TRON in the red, pretty steady through most of 2019. And then this big increase at the end, and then we can see EOS and NEO are very small at the bottom. But we can see, not really in EOS, which doesn't do very much at all, but in the other three blockchains, we can see sometime around kind of the first kind of second week in December, we see this fairly substantial increase. So for Ethereum, it kind of peaks at its year high over 500, probably over 600 there. And then, should tell me here on it. So 586 daily active wallets. In TRON, we're 420. And even on NEO, we're 91. So we can see that something definitely is going on here, but we can see really quite clearly now that this is something that is affecting the three most active blockchains in which Blockchain Cuties is running on. So hard to say this is due to the game being now available on the S10 device, although TRON does see the biggest increase, and we can see that a bit more clearly if I've just pulled this data. So this is for EOS in blue again and TRON in red, and what I've done called normalized it. So at the start of December, I've taken the start of December figure as being 100%, and then we can see how the growth percentage growth happens. So we can see Ethereum, it does grow, so 130% peaks up here, 100, so it increases, 50% increase. With TRON, we're what are we there? 265%. So a big increase. So it looks like there could be something happening here, but we can see in TRON, the case for TRON and Ethereum, as we get into January, this kind of drops off. So it's still higher than it was. So Ethereum 128% and TRON 135%. So we are still seeing growth, but it's 28% and 35% rather than this kind of massive increase. Another thing we have to remember is the absolute numbers. So the absolute numbers here are, TRON is increasing from 173 to 400. So it's not thousands increasing here. This is an increase of 100. Hundreds. We shouldn't demean that, but it's clearly not millions of S10 users all jumping onto their phones to play Blockchain Cuties or any other TRON DApp. So we need to dig in a bit more to find out exactly what's going on here. So it looks like the S10 could have some impact, but it's not the only thing that's happening here. So we need to do a bit more research. And if we do a Google search for Blockchain Cuties and what's been going on in the game, here is a press release on Cointelegraph, I should say. Blockchain Cuties Universe presents The Forge. So interestingly, again, the date here, roughly about the same time that the TRON version is going live on the S10. And The Forge is the most significant gameplay and economy update of the season, with a special motto, "Don't gather dust, enhance it." So what's been going on here is suddenly you have The Forge, and this is a very important part of the ongoing kind of development of Blockchain Cuties. So now you can get these items that you've got in the game, and you can turn them, the ones you don't need, you can turn them into magic dust. So effectively, you can then use magic dust to enhance your favorite item. So for the first time, we've got this kind of idea of recycling of game items, and that's pretty important for any meta game in any RPG, which is effectively what Blockchain Cuties is. So now we can kind of see the full picture of what's going on. So two things happen at the same time. This major gameplay or meta gameplay feature was added to Blockchain Cuties at the same time that this kind of more people could easily play it on TRON. So across all the active blockchains that Blockchain Cuties was on, we did see an increase. potentially, almost for Ethereum, getting on for like a 50-60% increase. And that was because people who already playing the game, suddenly they had this new thing. They had all these items that they couldn't use before. Now they can turn them into magic dust and level up the things they want. So no surprise there. For Tron, I think the increase is big enough that you could say there were some people potentially playing the game for the first time through the S10, but that was not the major impact for the increase. And I guess we can see that because if we suddenly had a lot of new players for the first time on the S10 playing the game, we wouldn't see this kind of dropping away that we see at the start of 2020, because what you'd expect is people using up all their items, playing the game more, getting this dust, enhancing the items they've got. That encourages more gameplay. So people are playing for a couple of weeks, and then they drift away again, and the new thing is kind of becomes expected, and just becomes part of their gameplay. If you had people for the first time, they'd be getting into the game, and you'd see that increase sustain a lot more than we have seen it. So I think one of the big things, in conclusion, is that we have lots of kind of fuss when someone like Samsung starts embedding blockchain wallets into phones, into hardware, and making it easier, despite the fact that millions of people potentially have easier access to blockchain games and dapps than before. That's not really that's not really driving any significant usage at all. And I think we have to be quite careful when we are kind of looking for these almost like Hail Mary passes where Samsung is going to suddenly bring millions of people to the DApp ecosystem. They may do that in the future. Certainly, it'll be interesting to see how people like HTC and Samsung and other companies. But probably until we see people like Apple and Google embedding blockchain kind of technology into their phones or into their ecosystems, then this kind of stuff is a little bit just kind of happening around the edges, interesting for geeky people like us, but not really going to drive the usage of these dapps from hundreds to thousands to potentially tens of thousands to at some point millions, as we expect, I guess, over the next decade. So anyway, that was just the news today. I kind of thought it was interesting to dig into a bit more detail than we sometimes do. Always good to get some numbers and try and pin together what's going on. So if you're interested in blockchain games, please do subscribe to the channel. We are spend all our time playing blockchain games and thinking about them and thinking about why they're working, on what they should do to work. So if that's your thing, please do subscribe to the channel. If you have any comments, please put them in the comments box. But thanks for watching, and hope to see you again soon.